Grammy-nominated artist Nico Segal is a name you are probably familiar with if you have any idea who the likes of Vic Mensa and Chance the Rapper are. He, though, used to go by a different name, Donnie Trumpet. He would eventually drop that moniker because of the rise of the current Republican president of the United States of America, Donald Trump. He would go over with me his studio sessions with Kanye West, Phife Dawg, Busta Rhymes, Erykah Badu, and many more, including his kinship for Chance the Rapper, The Social Experiment, and the Juju Exchange, along with how heartbreak helped his solo project take form. Before we get into it, all I ask of you is to subscribe to this YouTube channel, give me a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and please do write a review. It greatly, greatly helps. Without further ado, here is Nico Segal. What's up, everybody? Another fantastic interview for all of you. And this is someone that I have admired for some time for his work, not only representing the great city of Chicago, the best city in the world, but also because of the work that he has done. So here is Nico Segal. Hello, Nico. How are you?
What's up? Good to be here. I'm pretty good.
I'm glad that you're here. I have a ton of questions for you. Let me start with this. Is it true that you started playing trumpet because of Miles Davis?
It's true that I started loving the trumpet because of Miles Davis. I started playing drums actually first was my first instrument in 6th grade when I switched schools for the music program specifically. There was too many drummers, so I couldn't continue playing drums. So I ended up playing trumpet, but like pretty much the day that I chose the trumpet, my dad played me Miles Davis's In a Silent Way, and that really just kind of got me going. So yeah, I would say Miles Davis is a big reason why I fell in love with it.
The story that I saw was you started playing drums and Latin percussion. You moved middle schools, but as you said, there were too many drummers. So you simply asked about saxophone. You got the same answer. Then you started playing trumpet, obviously killed there. You play piano, drums, but you love the trumpet, which I believe you also said you started at age 11. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
20,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, no, so 20 years now.
20 years?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
It makes me feel old, but it's also kind of reassuring, honestly.
How so?
Because I think as musicians, we're always second guessing ourselves and wanting better from ourselves, and I guess it feels somewhat comforting, to that I'm standing on top of 20 years of experience. Even though I'm a young person, it's the only job I've ever done, and so I think that amount of time just puts into perspective sort of how much of a part of my life it is. It's 2/3 of it. So yeah.
But when you say second guessing, see, this is what I find pretty interesting about your field. It's and also, the similarity with my field is that the views matter. So the plays matter when it comes to your field as well. Does that play into second guessing at all between what you want to put out and what may attract more ears and eyeballs per se?
100%. Yeah, it's inevitable. We're all professionals, and we're trying to put food on the table and pay our bills. So there are certain things that I would consider more like my job. That I got to show up and got to do a good job and got to knock it out of the park. Whether it's a performance that I'm not that into, or it's a recording session that I'm not that into. I get to do the stuff that I want to do because I'm able to endure doing some of the other grunt work that just pays the bills. But in all honesty, there's a lot to take from every musical experience, and even the grueling ones, maybe even especially the grueling ones. where you're not that into it and you kind of gotta figure out ways of making it interesting for yourself, musically. Um, I think I've learned a lot from those experiences. So yeah, just trying to treat the music with the utmost respect everywhere I go and do my best, whether I'm super into it or not. And yeah, I feel pretty strongly that I haven't compromised my artistic integrity too much. I really do believe in a vast majority of the music that I have made, and even if I don't, love it years later, at the time I was excited about it, and we're only as strong as we are the day that on the day that we're there. So yeah, I think I find value in every musical experience, however much I'm super in love with it. And actually, just to wrap this point up real quick, uh, close friend of mine and musical collaborator, Julian Davis Reed, who's a part of my group, the Juju Exchange,
Hmm.
often points to this three-pronged approach, that it has to be good for your career, your pocket, or your soul. And it has to satisfy two out of these three criteria in order for you to justify taking the gig. So it can be, not the best paying gig, but you love the music and it could be a good step in your career. So you take it, or it's amazing money and it's a good step in your career, but your soul isn't all the way in it. You don't 100% love every second of the music. Fine, you take it for the bread. You know what I mean? So, anyways, that's sort of a rubric that I use as somewhat of a guideline for the type of work I do.
I think this is a good segue from what you brought up, which was you, after Kids These Days disbanded, you toured with Frank Ocean and you gave a story about how you thought it was creatively stifling and, quote, felt really removed from the music. So, with what you just said and what I just stated, why did you feel that way?
Yeah, so I feel like maybe that's a little I don't know, like there's aspects of that tour that were the most, creatively inspiring things of all time. Like
Let me
watching
interject. Were you misquoted?
it's maybe slightly out of context, I would say. Here's what I would say about that is
Please.
um touring with Frank Ocean was some of the most creatively inspiring music of my life. I think what I was explaining was during performances, from Kids These Days, where we were stage diving and mosh pitting, running all over the stage, and you know, uh, just kind of wild animals. And then touring with Frank, where we were in suits and we were seated the entire show.
Mm.
That to me was, a big shift. And the story I was telling was about being told to move even less and finding that odd. Like, I'm just grooving with your music, right? I'm on stage, I'm presenting your music. I want people to see that I'm loving it, right? But what was actually happening was it was distracting from the main point, which was watching Frank Ocean, not watching the brass section dancing to Frank Ocean.
Right.
Um, so the you know it was actually because I was overly creatively inspired that I sort of got, told, put in my place a little bit. And even that was again extremely creatively inspiring. And I learned so much from down the line because yeah, he just showed me the video and it made complete sense. Like it wasn't that I felt like, oh, woe is me. I was just I was blown away. I was overcome with this realization of like, wow, this makes so much sense. This looks more like an art piece to me. Um, if these guys weren't, so distracting and just flailing around all the time, while Frank is like so stoic and singing his tunes so beautifully, and you're connecting so deeply emotionally with him, and then there's just these, two guys like just grooving in their seats, in suits. So, anyways, I think I learned a ton from that experience, and I valued that experience in that time so much with Frank, and yeah, that was just one example of the sort of shift from Kids These Days to Frank Ocean I was making.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified, because that is a very important distinction than
Oh
what
yeah,
was printed in that vulture piece. Very important. So,
thank you, thank you for allowing me the space to clear that up.
bro, anytime.
No,
Um,
watching Frank Ocean from on stage sing his songs every night. I mean, what could be more creatively inspiring than that? I mean, it was the most insane experience of my life. I mean, even in rehearsals, like the guy was just a total gem. So, yeah, it was an incredible experience.
what's something we don't know about Frank Ocean?
He loves chess, just like me.
He loves chess.
Yeah, or at least for a while did.
So
I
were
don't
you
know if he
guys on
still.
like some Wu-Tang stuff when you were playing?
It's so funny you say that because I have played the Jizza in chess before, and I
Oh,
have talked to the RZA about playing chess, but we never got a chance to play. But I'm still looking forward to that matchup whenever it does happen. If you can blast this out to the RZA and
hmm
get us on the chessboard, man, that would be incredible.
yeah, I got him on speed dial. No
Okay,
problem. Yeah, totally.
send him a chess.com challenge.
Yeah, you gave me a lot here. There's a lot to unpack. Frank Ocean played chess. You played chess. Who got the better of the other?
Well, I've been playing chess my whole life, so I used to do tournaments and be pretty competitive when I was a kid. So um, yeah, it wasn't about winning or losing.
I don't buy it.
Yeah, we did play chess for like I don't know, maybe 6 hours in a row once, maybe five.
You and Frank?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, he was really into it.
Was he just learning at that time?
Yeah, this was a long time ago now, but yeah, it was super fun.
Uh huh.
Hmm.
And then you said you played Jizza.
I did. Jizza does these chess events like at Soho houses all over the place where he plays people in chess. And yeah, my bro Vic uh, called me and told me that I had to rep for our set.
Vic Mensa.
He said, "Come to Soho House. We need you." So yeah, that was such a fun experience. That was the best.
What kind of a player is he?
He's good. Yeah. Um, it was kind of an out of body experience, though. You know, I'd been listening to Wu Tang, and for whatever reason, specifically the Jizza. Like, I remember having these like little CDs that we got from these little mixtape CDs from the Basement, BASS Mint, which was this
Mm-hmm.
store in Chicago that sold a bunch of like hip hop um, stuff and like mixtapes and stuff. And yeah, I remember just like really loving this like random Jizz mixtape with DJ Muggs. I can't even remember the name of it, but it
Oh
was so
yeah, I bought that off iTunes.
yeah. I had like this little mixtape of it, and anyways, Jizza and RZA and all all the Wu Tang guys were always talking about kung fu and chess and stuff. So I always felt like they were kindred spirits, you know. And I got to play with the RZA once. I played like a festival set with him. Can't really remember where, but um, and we talked about playing chess or just loving chess or whatever. But then I got to actually play the Jizz. It was so much fun, and I won, and I was so disrespectful about it. I literally leapt out of my chair and like, like like I had just won a prize fight. And then I sat back down and sort of came back down to reality and was like, shook his hand and apologized. It was like, man, this was just so cool,
Yeah, I'm sure he was so accepting.
No, he wasn't. He was not happy about it. I could tell, and I felt really bad because like I said, I've been playing chess my whole life. I understand the sort of nuance and the nuances of the friendly game, and I really should have just I don't know what happened. I just completely went outside of myself. And yeah, it was just such a full circle moment, I guess, from listening to Wu Tang for so many years and imagining playing chess with them. and and Vic being there, and I just was, you know what I'm saying? I had to bring it home for my bro. So when it happened, man, I was just elated.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So you win, you stand up, you flex on Jizza, his you flex on a legend in Wu-Tang, and his reaction when you finally, I don't know, looked at his face was what?
Well, he was visibly uncomfortable. We then played again, and the game was even worse. And that time I, you know, was more settled in the in the energy of the moment and just shook his hand and, you know, said thanks for the games and kept it moving. But yeah, that first one, man, I'll never forget that. I felt so bad. I wonder if he'll ever talk to me
Well, Nico, there's an opportunity here.
again.
He's gonna be in town with Lettuce at the Ramova.
Ooh, ooh.
So, Lettuce, great band, obviously. You go over there and you try to somehow finagle your way in front of him, and then
No,
maybe you could
I
break
gotta make
bread.
amends. I gotta make amends. I gotta bring him a gift. I gotta, you know, I gotta bring him like a crystal chessboard or something, you know, like a go with gold pieces. I gotta bring him like an extravagant gift.
All right, think about it.
Yeah,
Think about the gift that you want to get
yeah.
the legend that you disrespected at Soho.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Jizza. Please forgive me.
Dude, that's awesome.
I know it's
That is
pretty.
awesome. So, we were talking about Frank Ocean. I want to get back to this, even though the Jizza story is amazing. Oh, wait, so you watched him the second game, is my
Yeah,
assumption.
yeah.
Okay. What was Vic's reaction?
Vic was very supportive, but he also clearly was uncomfortable with how I celebrated. It was like so out of pocket. Like everybody like didn't really know how to react, you know, him included. I mean, he I'm pretty sure, you know, he like we shook up and like he gave, you know, gave me a big hug and was supportive of the moment, but he was also like laughing and it was kind of like chill.
No.
Yeah. But then Jizza wanted to play him and Vic, you know, doesn't play as much. So I felt like Jizza was trying to, I don't know, take it out on my boy or something. I don't know.
Did he?
No,
Did
it
he?
was all in good fun though. All in good fun.
Mm-hmm. But Vic lost.
Well, yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. So he had to get a win.
Yeah. No, he still did his thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, feel you. I interviewed Vic Mensa on this very show,
Oh, nice.
and I really wish I knew that story at the time
Yeah.
because I would have asked him about it.
Yeah, I wonder what his angle what his angle was on it.
I'll text him after this, and I'll have to ask him,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then I'll let you know. All right, let me go back to Frank Ocean for a moment.
Okay.
You said that he loves chess. There was there's so many theories about like the person that he is. There's so many theories about like how he shook up the music industry and all these sorts of videos on YouTube. How do you feel if he has even with, you know, masters, record labels? Do you think that he has shaken up the music industry?
I mean, I think he is one of the greatest artists of our generation. Like um top 10 easily. And I think, you know, his impact in how he chooses to like navigate the music industry, both on the business and like on the personal side, where people don't, aren't can't like follow his every move and stuff. Um, I think it's really admirable. I think it's really commendable, and um, titans like that shake up the game. They just do, because the power of the product and the purity of the spirit coming through the music. The quality and intention that's captured in that music could only be received, or could only be experienced um, through the person and through the way that it's received. The way that he chooses to put it out. Um, yeah, I mean, he's a very smart, calculated dude, and I think makes the type of music that will make an impact. No matter how he releases it, we'd be talking about, oh, he changed the game, he shook up the game, because it's just that good. And the the sort of enigma that is, the floating Frank Ocean sort of vibe, um, adds to that. The mystique adds to that, to the power of these releases and to the way that he's doing it. And yeah, he's just a smart dude. So he's navigating the industry, in just a smarter way, and just staying true to himself. I think, like, I think that's extremely hard. Like we were talking about earlier, with making business decisions, um, and staying true to your art. And that's somebody I really have taken a lot of cues from, and just appreciate the time that I did get to spend with him, in seeing somebody really sticking to their guns artistically. Whether it was for the stage or for the studio. Um, but yeah, just I think he is somebody who every time he releases music is going to continue to change the game, change the scope, change the narrative, um, because he's just that good. And with all this like AI trash stuff going on, I mean, Frank is like the literal uh, juxtaposition of that type of fake music. He's just straight spirit, straight feeling. Um, and I think that's what cuts through the noise, and I think that's why that's what makes him a timeless artist, and what makes the industry sort of have to bow to his every move, because it's just that cold. Like it's just undeniable. That's what I
When
would say.
yeah, when you say when you're talking about a spirit, could you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Um, I honestly haven't seen or talked to Frank in a long time, so I am hesitant to talk so much about it. I got to be honest. But when I talk about the spirit of his music, you know, I I think a lot about his commitment to um making songs better and better. Like I remember hearing different versions of different songs at different times, and the types of changes that somebody might go through between, version 1 and version 3, um are like, maybe the drum gets a little louder, or maybe there's like a new bass line somewhere, or there's new stacks of vocals, right? Or a feature or something. But when Frank would play me stuff from version 1 to whatever, whenever else in the process he was playing me it would just change so dramatically, so drastically. And I think that spoke to him constantly, you know, searching for better, and just never settling for the first idea, and just digging, digging and digging, and like singing a line over and over. and constantly, changing it and reevaluating it, and then trying it again, and then changing it and reevaluating. So I think just yeah, that sort of the spirit of like I want the best from myself, and I'm not gonna just get comfortable, um, really spoke to me, and it's something that I yeah feel lucky that I was able to observe, as a part of that process.
Definitely. As a trumpet player, as someone who was in the back who was told to stop dancing, stop shimmying, what was your favorite song to play on tour with Frank? That is
Oh, what was that?
Super
She
Rich
got
Kids.
the whole wide world in a juicy fruit. Bum, 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 bum. She got the whole wide world in her hands. What's that song? Uh, Shoot, I forgot the name of it now, but we came up with a cool line.
The Whole
The
Wide World in Her Juicy Fruit.
Yeah, something
Voodoo.
like Voodoo. Thank you. I used to love playing that song. Um, yeah, me and the trombone player JP, who was also in Kids these days. Um, he he and I came up with this line, and we used to sort of like lean back the rhythm. If it was like do it up a da da, but sometimes we'd be like bop beep bop bop da da, and that was always so much fun, and kind of one of the couple parts that we really got to like do our thing on, and came up with, and but yeah, playing all those lines was so much fun. I loved just watching him, sing some songs. Yeah, there was a lot of really special moments. But that was always a highlight. There was one other one that I took like a crazy like free jazz solo on every night. It was I think Pilot Jones, someone. I can't remember now, but I there's a video of it somewhere. I can link you. But yeah, it was like a weird free jazz solo, and Frank would like go off stage and change or something, or just go off stage and like drink some water and come back. I don't know, but it was kind of like a musical break, and it was a lot of fun for me. And I was always like surprised that he was really into me doing that, but he we talked about it and he was into it, so felt grateful to have a moment of like some interjecting some of that jazz,
Definitely. I can only imagine. What does Nico Genius mean to you?
Ooh, that's a nickname that Vic gave me when we were probably like 13. uh yeah, I always felt weird about that name because it feels a little too loot. But yeah, a lot of my homies used to call me Nico Genius. It was also immortalized in a song that Vic put out, um, which is why I think he really liked it so much because he was like Nico Genius, Nico Genius. He was like singing along to something, and so I think he really it like got solidified in his brain. And yeah, I always appreciated it, but I definitely never put out a song as Nico Genius. Never told anybody to call me Nico Genius. It's just because I played chess and used to love math. But yeah,
What do you mean you love math?
yeah. When I was really little, I loved math. Um, really, up until high school when it started getting too hard. But in grade school, um, I think it was like fourth grade, I would go to the sixth grade classroom for math because my math in my class was boring. Um, and I would shout out the answers, too fast. And I was just, yeah, it was annoying my teacher clearly. So, anyways, they put me in a different classroom um, for math. I used to love just like asking my dad for random algebra problems. I don't know. I just really I always loved chess, and math was somehow like scratching that same itch, and then music really took over, and again it was scratching a similar itch, of just like some problem solving and puzzles and creativity and coming up with solutions and um, yeah, sort of like quantifiable goals that you feel satiated when you finish that hard problem, or you learn that kung fu form, or you wiggle out of a terrible position in chess and get a draw, or um, just problem solving in general has always, I think, really, yeah, just been interesting for me and a big part of how I look at the world, and yeah, and especially in music.
Hmm. You Media, a
You,
creative space for teens at the Harold Washington Library. What'd you learn there?
man, oh, what did I learn there? That's a powerful question. Um, Gosh, I learned a lot about presentation and showmanship. I learned a lot about um, overcoming nerves. I learned a lot about the power of community and support. Um, I learned a lot about writing words and caring about words. I think I learned a lot about how musicians and artists, interact and can support each other and can work together. Um, I think I learned a lot about trusting my fellow Chicagoans. Because at that age, um, I think it would have been really easy for, different groups like a Save Money and a Pivot to like become mortal enemies or something, but we didn't. We like formed this alliance, or not even alliance, but really just this bond and this like mutual admiration, this mutual respect. And I think I learned a lot from that experience too, that people can be inspired by each other and support each other in that artistic kind of way, and it can supersede you know the sort of fears around kids being from different neighborhoods in the same place, kids with different backgrounds and different experiences sharing those experiences, being very vulnerable in front of each other, talking about poems and sharing poems, and sharing pieces of their lives that are really personal. And I think I learned a lot about being like white in those spaces. Um, Not that there was like, here's your lesson, here's your tutorial, here's your guidelines, but just sort of from existing in those spaces and hearing so many, stories, and where white people were abusing the situation, or abusing people, or talking about really tough parts of our nation's history, and as poets do, and as young people do. um and I think I just w- learned a lot about sitting with that and not feeling like threatened or anything, but just feeling like, yeah, like we need to talk about this. And I'm glad I'm here to like receive this energy, even if it's upsetting, or whatever. It always felt very enlightening, and it never felt combative or attacky. It just, I think it was a powerful place to absorb people's truths, um and It was one of the first places I recorded trumpet in the library with Chance, before he was even Chance the Rapper. Um, so yeah, I think I learned a ton about creativity, about how to work with people, about how to support each other, and how to kind of get out the way and leave some space for just absorbing, just listening. Was such a powerful time in my life. Just listening and absorbing all the stories and pieces of art that people would share. Um, and some of my favorite performances from, you know, insert your favorite Chicago artist happened there. You know, watching Fatima, No Name, watching Saba, watching Mick. Um, these were all standouts. You know that they would bring the house down with their poems, or their bars, or their showmanship. You know, um, so I just yeah, I remember those performances really really fondly, and yeah, shout out to brother Mike. He was the main mentor there, running the space, and yeah, um, just a beautiful soul that I appreciate, you know, so much. I still remember um, playing a song for him where he told me and Malcolm that it reminded him of the first time he heard Black Star, like
Mm,
Mo and Talib Kweli, and
hmm.
man, I'll take that to the grave. Like that just meant the world to me at the time, you know. So yeah, rest in peace. Shout out to him.
RIP to him. I know you can't see it, but I'm putting myself in the full screen right now. I have 4 albums that rotate on the wall behind me. Right? I'm sorry, I can't even count. I have 6. And those albums are Midnight Marauders,
Mm,
3 Feet High, Black on Both Sides, Blowout Comb.
mm,
Which one is that? Which one is that? That is Battle of Los Angeles, duh.
mhm.
And the last one is Black Star.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
Black Star has not moved.
Mhm,
For the sole reason because I think Yasin Bey is a top tier hip hop artist. And
mm,
secondly, um, because I would love for them to do one more. I know they released one that was for download only, but just to do one more would just
mhm.
make my day. So I understand where you're coming from. I value it.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm,
There's a lot of talent that you touched on. Saba, No Name, Chance, Jamila Woods. I did a story on No Name not too long ago about how she is very intentional with her lyrics and
mm,
how it's super anti-capitalist. You know, she even uh, said, you know, I don't listen to Jay-Z in one song that a lot of people caught on to when she did her NPR Tiny Desk. What sort of poems would she perform, and was it building up to the person she is, or was this just a theme?
I mean, yeah, Fatima was always the coldest. Fatima was always like, to me at least, um, just far and just very, very far above everybody else
Mhm.
lyrically. Um, she's always just had a way with words, man. I it's hard to say it any other way, but just the way she puts words together and messages together, and um, I remember the very first time I saw her doing a poem was actually I think it was Louder Than a Bomb, but it was because it wasn't at U Media, it was somewhere else. But anyways, she had on like this helicopter hat, you know, like the rainbow colored hat with like the little propeller.
Mhm.
And she did this piece that was just so intense. I mean, yeah, just the room, I don't know, it was just vibrating, you know, just everyone just sitting on the edge of their seat, you know. Um, and yeah, I think in every media room that I was ever in, if Fatima did a piece, like that was the best piece of the night, like hands down. Um, So yeah, I think she's just an incredibly smart person, and yeah, she's always been political, and she's always just had a way of explaining it, like had a way of talking about things that make things very visceral, all her pieces just I feel like I could see them, playing out like movies. And so I think she's always just had a very strong way of conveying her messages and her words, her ideas. And yeah, she's a very smart person. So she's just cold. She's
She
just a,
is.
yeah, yeah,
She's unbelievably cold.
yeah.
What makes her so cold, though? What is it about it? What is it about her approach? What is it about? Is it the history that she studies? Is it that she's constantly read? I mean, I know she has the book club, which is fantastic. What did it?
I don't know. I mean, we had a group together for a long time. Not a long time, but a little while, called Dat Scat. That was the name of our group. It was me and Fatima and Malcolm, and we performed once at Reggie's.
Oh, Reggie's, yes. Shout out
Yeah.
Reggie's.
So Dat Scat has gone through went through our initiation, our proper Chicago initiation.
Mhm.
No, but we used to do these like writing sessions basically um at the music garage in the Kids These Days room at the time. And yeah, she like we would get up super early, and I feel like I was always really fast with my writing, but hers was just always the best. Like me and Malcolm was just like, I don't know, just kind of have to bow down at a certain point and like revolve the whole concept of the song around whatever she wrote, because it would just always be so hot, like um yeah, I look back on those sessions really fondly, because yeah, I feel like I learned a lot about like getting the idea out quickly is one thing, but dig a little bit and then you get the gold. And I feel like Fatima would always come out of those sessions with gold, even if it was, took longer or was whatever. Like I was in there like singing and stuff too, and she was more like rappy. And so even if I had a couple things that I was singing that I liked, it was always her part that was like clearly the most moving. Clearly the most, just at that level, playing on that on the on the on the professional field, sort of.
Mm-hmm. It's super cool. There
Yeah.
was another person who had a big effect on your life. At the Merritt School of Music in the West Loop, Stephen Burns, who it is written was the person who helped teach you trumpet. He said, quote, Nico has always been absolutely driven to find what's new on the horizon, and he always had this curiosity and creativity to his approach. It reflects upon the Chicago jazz scene and has been doing for a long time. It's very much the next generation carrying on this incredible tradition of generosity and collaboration and support for creativity. In this case, bring jazz to a whole new audience.
Hmm.
When you hear this from Stephen Burns, what's your reaction?
Wow, I'm honored. I mean, yeah, he's a superstar trumpet player, one of the best classical players probably in the world. Um, he wasn't my main teacher at Merritt. He would actually he was there every other weekend, because he was like in some orchestra in Italy or something every other weekend or something crazy like that. Or maybe that was just the stories that the kids told each other. But um, yeah, I'm really honored by that, because he was more so like my classical teacher more than anything. And I feel like I was always sort of battling these two sides, or trying to figure out the balance between the classical and the jazz side, and then of course the Latin jazz side that I grew up playing and listening to, and then just sort of whatever I was doing with kids these days, and just sort of the jazz adjacent, hip hop adjacent sort of music I was making. Um, and I think, yeah, one of the most powerful lessons Mr. Burns ever taught me was really treating all of that music with the same respect, with the same level of intention, same level of focus when you're studying it. Like I remember having this conversation about transcribing all these jazz trumpet players and talking about a classical piece we were working on, and he was showing me, some classical goats version, maybe a, Sergei Nakaryakov or whatever, I don't know, some classical goat. And he told me that I should transcribe that too, like learn it by ear, basically.
Mhm.
And the same way I would with a jazz solo. And it really was like a big light bulb moment, of just, yeah, all this stuff has a lot of merit, and you learn different things from studying it, um and the sort of boxes that you would put on the jazz and classical worlds can be more blurry, and therefore how you go about studying them can also be more blurry and can also sort of borrow from each other. And yeah, I think in general, I always looked at a lot of the classical playing I was doing as sort of a means to an end. As like it's my technical side. It's the part of the trumpet that's the most demanding. So the more you work at it, the easier other things become. Because I guess I never really had any vision for myself, like playing in an orchestra or wanting to pursue like a classical trumpet route. Um, Although I did love the brass ensemble. That was sick. I loved playing in the brass ensemble, and that was extremely challenging, demanding classical music that I really enjoyed playing. But yeah, I mean, Mr. Burns has also commissioned the Juju Exchange to work with his orchestra called Fulcrum Point, which was a huge honor. And he played some piccolo trumpet, and I played, the regular trumpet part, and that was a really special moment. But I also got to say, my main teacher at Merritt was Michael McLaughlin, and he was my guy. He was my private lesson teacher. He was the guy running all the jazz stuff that I was the most into. He ran the Latin jazz band, which I was also super into. Um, and he taught Victor Garcia, who then also became sort of like my jazz trumpet dad, especially after McLaughlin moved to Mexico and then passed. So I started studying with Victor Garcia, who was also McLaughlin's student. So, anyways, the jazz lineage, is strong in Chicago for sure. And
Definitely.
and yes, what's crazy about Mr. Burns too is that he has two sons that are incredible musicians. Um, the Burns twins, Izzy and Eddie. And yeah, I mean Eddie just literally just played with Frank Ocean, and is on tour with Clairo and Super Monster. And Izzy uh, plays trumpet and bass and is like uh, musically directing a bunch of people. And yeah, they're both super cold. So it's just funny. 'Cause I remember like giving Izzy some random jazz trumpet lessons a couple times, while studying with his dad, all the classical stuff. So yeah, I really appreciate those words, and I actually never saw that, never heard that before. So I appreciate you reading that to me.
No, of course, man.
Yeah.
Politically speaking, you told the Chicago Tribune in November 2016 that your family's always been political. Your sister was adopted from Guatemala. You attended bilingual grade school, and that led to you eventually dropping Donnie Trumpet as your name when the current, former, and then past president made his ascension in politics. You said, quote, "The principle trumps the benefit of keeping the name." You also went on to say music is historical. It evolves as society evolves, as technology evolves. Musicians are observers and listeners. We react and then force reactions. You also said young people cannot be removed from politics. I agree. When he started making his ascension, as I stated, was this going through your mind, or was it when he won the 2016 presidential election that you thought, I cannot go further with this?
Well, no, it was when we started hearing, more like racist, homophobic rants. um, and I think when he won, it just became too real. People were already making the comparison and uh
What comparison?
of my name, Donnie Trumpet, to Donald Trump, like before he won, but after he won, especially. And I guess it just started tasting, sour, like more and more sour. And I sort of felt like I made this name as a joke, and the joke just went too far. And this dude isn't funny anymore. He's actually harmful. And I just don't want to be associated with that rhetoric, basically. Um, it, yeah, I think it was just like I said, a product of the time of just feeling like I don't want to be lumped in with this character. Um, and I will, there's a lot of people that were close to me that never made the comparison or never made um the connection of Donnie Trumpet to Donald Trump, but it was there and it was a part of the joke from the beginning. And yeah, I mean it was my name. Like I couldn't unhear that or unsee that part of the story. Could I have done, trumpets over Trump? Sure. I could have gone a lot of different routes, but you know, in the time since, I've also gotten a lot of like support and appreciation from people in my close circle who just appreciated that I, you know, took it seriously and made some sort of attempt to I don't know, like bring awareness to the fact that it wasn't funny, it wasn't a joke, it was too serious. Yeah, when I made the name, he was somebody from The Apprentice that literally was just like on a couple rap songs that I had heard and just associated with like a goofy, like tyrannical boss sort of character. Um, and I thought it was interesting to put trumpet in my name because that's what I was doing on tour. Um, and I was also like producing and doing other stuff behind the scenes. But what you were seeing me do was playing the trumpet. So I just thought it was ironic on a lot of different levels. So I was playing off the joke and on a tour with Chance the Rapper and Peter Cottontail and Nate Fox. Well, that is actually his name, but yeah, it was just it kind of was just like I want a cool stage name, so I just made it a funny joke basically. To include trumpet in the name. That was really it.
Was it freeing to let it go?
No, it was tough, and it's still tough. I mean, I stand by it. I'm grateful to myself that I made that decision, that I talked about it with my family, um and ultimately made the right decision. But that doesn't make it easy, and that doesn't make it easy still. Um, it doesn't bug me when people call me Donnie Trumpet. Truly, I don't care, but it's just made the business side more difficult because name recognition is a huge part of being a successful artist. I mean, um, I think the trajectory of my career would have been very different if I had kept the moniker. Um, but I don't. I wouldn't have it any other way. I think it was again, I was sort of forced into this position and had to roll with the punches.
Mhm.
That's truly how I feel.
Is it hard to talk about, Nico?
Um, I It is just in thinking of all the what ifs, but again, it wasn't up to me. It was this situation in the world and that we're still currently in where people are following this tyrant, this I don't know, this I don't even know what to call him.
Fascist.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I just didn't want to be a part of it anymore. So I think it's hard to talk about because I'm scared for I was scared at the time and I'm scared of where we're at and where we're headed and what he's doing to this country and the deportations and I mean it's really scary. And so I think when I'm forced to think about that decision and sort of the business compromises, I'm also thinking like, geez, but what about the real world issues? Like I'm worrying about a name change and somebody's getting deported. Like just trying to put that stuff into perspective, and yeah, I mean, it's hard to talk about because it makes me really sad. I feel really sad for not for me, but just for everything that he's doing and the people that are the most impacted by his, you know, racist rhetoric and yeah, just the crazy shit that he's talking about doing. Sorry, that was the first time I cursed.
It's
Uh,
okay.
yeah,
It's okay. I think you're fine. I
yeah,
wouldn't I wouldn't worry about it.
okay.
Politically speaking as well, Chance has been involved in politics. His dad, I believe, worked for the mayor. He talked about this before as well. I came across an old interview that you guys did though with the Breakfast Club and Charlemagne, where you were both wearing social experiment jackets, which were dope, by the way. What do you remember about your interview with the Breakfast Club?
I remember it was stupid early, and we were barely awake. I remember at one point, it's hard to even yeah, it's hard to remember exactly, but I remember talking about gangs or something at one point. Um, that's pretty much all I remember from that.
That's it.
Yeah. Why was there something that like really crazy that happened or something?
No. Was
Okay.
there anything crazy? Not really. I do remember Charlemagne asking Chance if he knew about R. Kelly peeing on anybody,
Oh my god.
something to that effect, which for Charlemagne is like PG. He'll go.
Wow.
He'll go there.
Hmm.
You know. So yeah,
I,
I didn't know if you had a if you had a memory from that show.
I really don't. Yeah, the only memory I have is like a vague talking about gang culture and but I don't know that's pretty much all I remember.
Isn't that also tiresome as a Chicago artist?
Oh, definitely. I mean, especially in like the beginning of the mixtape days where everybody was like blaming Chief Keef for every
Oh
bad thing
yeah.
that happened in the city. It
Oh
was
man.
bro, you guys got it all the way mixed up.
Well,
Maybe
explain
that's
that. Explain that.
well, maybe that's even what we were talking about. I honestly don't remember if that's what it was, but no, I just remember like people talking about him and like inciting violence and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, the stuff he's talking about is stuff that he's witnessing, that he's, seeing, that he's the victim of in some cases, but also just like he's just an artist telling stories. I mean, uh, and a product of this environment. He didn't create this environment. Like he's not single-handedly responsible for like everything that led to the making of drill music. Like, I think that was kind of the point that I was making. Is just like the artists are reflecting the times. The artists, um, we're feeling and witnessing, and then being mirrors. So if anything, Chief Keef was teaching everybody something at that time.
I agree. I would also make the correlation that there is a media landscape, and it's been like this for a while, where you will see predominantly right-wing voices making using their voices and having a bullhorn to say, you know what the problem is? It's
Mm,
rap music, it's hip hop music, it's drill. And then right away, by the way, Academics is also a
mm,
huge POS who participated in this and did not help at all, and also made his name by shitting on Chicago and shitting on drill. But that's besides the point. We could
mm,
actually get to Academics in a moment. But what I would say is it's predominantly right wing voices who will say, oh, well, we hate Chicago because our audience hates Chicago. Oh, well, we could correlate that to gun violence because
right.
only a certain kind of person who looks a certain way is allowed to own a gun in this country. It's like the perfect storm for one side of the political aisle to just gang up on the other, is what I would say.
100%. I mean, I think I think that music in general is inherently political because again, it's reflecting the times that we're in. It's reflecting the spaces that we're a part of, and um, yeah, for people to twist the narrative and have some sort of scapegoat is just insane to me. Like, um, yeah, in my mind, it's just making music and
I agree.
making art. Yeah.
I agree. I would also say, if memory serves me correctly, that was also a big talking point when Bill O'Reilly had Cameron and Dame Dash on with the
Mm,
You Mad stuff.
mm,
And he was talking about how Dame Dash was making the point correctly that Cameron is not like what they're making him out to be. He's literally speaking about real life experiences.
mm,
So, where is the line for those who are saying, protect the kids, protect the kids?
mm.
It has to be somewhere. And sort of like what you're saying with Chief Keef, all they're doing is rapping about their real life experiences. It's not necessarily go do this, go repeat after me. It's not a Simon Says contest.
Also, not for everybody. Like that's the other thing is like nobody's putting a gun to your head and forcing you to listen to it. You know, if you're listening to it and vibing with it, it's because you have some sort of I don't know admiration for it, respect for it, or you're I don't know, I guess infantilizing it and making it you know like your little plaything, which is the worst of it. But um, yeah, I think nobody has as much control as people assume. Like in terms of making music, but we like we're witnessing and processing information and regurgitating our responses to it. You know, and yeah, I don't think like when I was 12 or 13, I used to love listening to Biggie Smalls all the time. Notorious B.I.G. That was my guy. I would die on that hill. Him versus Tupac wasn't even a discussion to me back then. He was my favorite. And nowadays, it's kind of hard to listen to some Biggie music. I mean, of course, some of it I still love. There's a special place in my heart, but some of it I just can't really listen to. Like, it's a little too graphically violent for my taste, and that's okay. Like, he can still tell his stories and do his thing, and I could still appreciate it for what it was in my life and how it impacted my musical story and I don't know. I had a Biggie pinky ring for a long time that I wore around everywhere. I wouldn't wear that today because I don't fully, can't fully get behind a lot of the stuff he was talking about in those songs. But I still respect him as an artist, to the utmost and think he's one of the greatest, one of the greats. It's sort of like how much do you separate, you know, the art side from the personal side and how much do you understand that every piece of art is inherently political and how much weight you give that how much responsibility you put on artists to sort of bear that cross and I think everybody has a different like litmus test as far as like I need this artist to in every one of their songs or like a Mac Miller make a song like fuck Trump like not every artist is going to make that song eh, you know he just was compelled to tell the story that way, you know, and to get his point across in that kind of way. So, um, yeah, I think everybody has a different way of processing their environments, processing the art that they're consuming, and and ultimately we're all, yeah, products of our of the people around us, of the positions we were born into this capitalist society that we live in, that's literally engineered to keep people down. um so yeah, I think it's really, yeah, just backwards and unfair to like blame blame an artist like Biggie or Chief Keef.
Agreed. Agreed completely. I mentioned academics. What was his effect on the Chicago hip hop scene?
I mean, I always just look at him as a goofy. Like, I don't know. I just saw like Vic check him on some interview and was pretty much like, okay, that's
On
that.
Complex.
Like, that's it. Somebody from somebody that I literally grew up with put him in his place in that moment. And I don't know. That's as much as I've thought about dude. Literally, I yeah, I never even really paid him any mind. Just he's just a troll in my mind. And then I saw the Vic thing, like a 30-second clip of that, and I was like, cool, done.
Vic did his thing.
Oh, nothing else I can add.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
You've worked with some incredible artists, man. The Social Experiment featured Erykah Badu, Janelle Monáe. I mean, humongous names. BJ the Chicago Kid, B.O.B., Busta Rhymes, J. Cole. You mentioned No Name, Jeremiah, Big Sean, Rory, Saba, Quavo, Jamila Woods, Joey Perp, Eric Butler. How did you get these names together?
Man. Um I hate to sound so philosophical or something, but my honest answer is by putting the music first, by really caring a lot about what we were making and trying to find and pick the best voices and best energies, you know, to make the best art that we could, and shooting for the stars. Now, did it help that the main driving force at the time was also one of the biggest artists in the world in Chance the Rapper? Obviously, 100%. A lot of these sessions of these artists you just named happened because they thought they were getting a Chance the Rapper session and it turned into a Social Experiment session. And that's kudos to Chance for having the vision and having the idea in his head, you know, of just this is bigger than just me, you know? And yeah, I mean, some of those sessions, like you mentioned, a lot of names, those were our homies. Fatima, Jamila, Saba, you know, those were our friends. Eric Butler, that's somebody I've known since I was literally like 6 years old. Um, so it was that combined with the sort of star power of Chance the Rapper, and really just all of us being sort of on the same page about, you know, no ego in the room and just trying to make the best song we all can. And even if it's a bigger artist, you know, not having a problem cutting their parts to allow space for somebody, you know, who's lesser known or whatever, just based on who's doing what, you know, and who's really contributing to the spirit of the music. Um and yeah, I mean, it was just a crazy time. Like we it was sort of a perfect storm sort of thing. Um, we were really inspired at the time to just create music together. The analogy we often give is like we were like kids in a candy store. You know, we were in these studios, and these artists wanted to work with us or wanted to work with Chance, you know, by proxy with us. Um, and yeah, we just felt so much gratitude. I think we were just young and hungry, and a lot was happening really, really fast. So um, yeah, I look back on those sessions, really fondly. We worked really, really hard on that music for a long time, and yeah, the bigger artist sessions were incredible, but so were the sessions with our friends, playing instruments or singing their parts or doing backgrounds, or I mean Aaron Allen Kane, some of those sessions with her doing just background parts were like some of the hottest musical sections that I can remember from the project. Or all the crazy percussion and stuff that happened on Windows or Slip Slide or whatever. Just I think my fondest memories, extend beyond just the big artist sessions, which were amazing. But yeah, it extends to the whole process, like in one night, I think we made like 3 demos that ended up on the album. We made like Rememory and uh maybe Slip Slide and one other one, like all in the same night at this one studio in LA. Just straight gassed, off the music, just completely smitten by the music muse. And that's what I remember the most. I mean, yeah, the session with Busta Rhymes was crazy. Like Phife Dawg was there. We listened to music so loud I thought my ears were literally gonna fall off my head. But and there was absolutely no way that anybody in the room could actually hear what we were playing him. I mean, it was just absurd. But yeah, like I said, a lot of my favorite moments were with the homies, and honestly with Chance too at the time. Like I remember some of those sessions where he would just freestyle the whole verse down, or he'd take a few minutes and listen to the beat and jot a couple words here and there, and then boom, just straight down. I mean, the dude was just so one with the spirit, just so aligned, so yeah, just doing hot shit. I don't know. He was locked in. He was super locked in during that time, man. And we just made so much music during those couple years of making that album. And then there was other things that, like Drown, I remember was a session that I did with Fatima actually well before like finishing Surf or anything, that was in contention to be on Surf, and then ended up taking, you know, uh becoming Finish Line Drown on Coloring Book. But Drown was something that started as an idea with Fatima. Um and yeah, like there was just so many songs during that time. We were all just really feeling inspired, and just inspired by each other, inspired by the artists we were able to work with. Um, yeah, and I think, yeah, I guess one of the biggest lessons is to just reach out and ask. All these artists put on their pants in the morning the same way you do, and they're all just people, and they're all much more well researched than than you give them credit for, or than you think, like than one would think. Um, Like I remember in the Busta Rhymes session, he was quoting back lines to Chance of like random freestyle videos he saw, like not even actual, videos. He was referencing like random interview freestyles he gave and shit and stuff. And yeah, I just remember feeling like, whoa, like this guy has really like done his research. Like he knows him. He's not just inviting him to the studio because he heard one song and thought it was cool. Like he's really dug and like checked this guy out and really wants to make music with him, like thinks there's something there. um I felt very inspired by that, and just yeah, like this is cool, like they're actually listening for you, like you might not think that the Drakes and Q-tips or whatever. I don't know, like the big artists that you can put on that pedestal, whether it's creatively or uh, business wise, whatever. They're checking for all that stuff. They're getting inspired by that stuff, and I think that was a really cool um, moment that happened during those surf sessions. It's just like, yeah, these guys are checking stuff out. They know what's going on. They got their ear to the ground. Um, and I think it also just really affirmed and validated, Chance and what we were doing with him. That what he was doing was reaching the Busta Rhymes of the world. Uh, yeah.
That's super cool. I'm glad that you mentioned Phife Dawg because Vulture cited what they called a memorable studio hang with you, Phife, and Busta Rhymes. What was memorable about it, aside from them potentially blowing out your eardrums?
um. Well, I mean, what was memorable was playing Slip Slide for Busta Rhymes and Phife, and just seeing their reactions, just feeling the energy in the room, and just seeing them dance and move and get into it. I think it was also kind of funny how huge Busta Rhymes was, and like how petite Phife Dawg was. I think that also really stuck out to me
Mm-hmm.
because I think it was just a larger than life situation. I mean, I'd listened to both their voices so many times that you feel like you know them, but you don't really know them. And then you meet them and you get to know them a little bit better, but it's not like I knew everything about their lives all of a sudden. It was still like a very surreal sort of celebrity moment in my mind. But the fact that they actually listened to music I had made was insane to me. And then the fact that they were like grooving and into it was just beyond belief. And I remember Busta Rhymes saying, he's going to record something, and then if he's still feeling it the next day, then he would send it. And yeah, I really loved that part of the process too, and learned a lot from that. Like, just really digesting what you just did before feeling comfortable enough. Like, yeah, this is it. This is hot. Um. So yeah, and it was also, can't remember dates to save my life, but it was pretty soon before Fife passed, and so I think that really added to the sort of surreal, mystique of the experience of just like feeling so lucky that I got to meet this this force, this titan of our musical existence. Um, it was so tight to hear like Busta Rhymes um talking about writing with Fife. Like, I remember him saying that Phife Dawg was always done first. He always finished his verse before everybody else. I thought that was so tight. Um, and really like I remember him saying that he like Busta Rhymes saying that he was very inspired by that he was like he had to like get on his ones and twos because Phife was gonna come with some super hot stuff really quick.
Always.
And yeah, that was really inspiring to me. Just the way that they gave us space to play the idea. And yeah, he also played a bunch of other music. But for real, the most memorable piece of that entire night was how loud we listened to every single thing. I mean, I don't know how he heard anything. Like, I don't know how anybody in the room heard a single note. It was just so loud. Yeah. But aside from that, one of the best sessions I've ever been to.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. R.I.P. Phife. I actually had Jerobi White, founding member of A Tribe Called Quest, on this very show, and he told some amazing stories about Phife. Truly,
Yeah.
truly amazing. So he's definitely missed.
Yeah.
You worked with some other humongous names. You worked with local natives. I saw them at Lollapalooza. They were amazing. You've worked with Kanye. You recorded with Neil Young at Rick Rubin's house. You worked with Ed Sheeran, just filled in at a 3 p.m. slot at Coachella, I saw. Worked with Paul Simon. I'm going to ask one by one because I am curious. We've touched on and by the way, you produced For Whom the Bell Tolls by J. Cole, which I think is one of the more underrated songs and also is a super fiery beat. With Kanye, you did Ultrabright Beam, you've done a lot and collaborated with him. What were those studio sessions like for you?
Um, uh, this is a tough one to answer right now in the current state of things, but I will answer as the person I was in those moments, and they were incredible experiences. I mean, I was sitting 2 feet away from him as he's playing the MPC, like banging out drums, and I just remember having this sort of out of body experience of like hearing every Kanye West song ever in that one moment of him playing the MPC. Um, and yeah, just witnessing a master, like a true freaking master, masterful ear, masterful swing. Yeah, just fully embodying the spirit of every Kanye West song you've ever heard in 30 seconds. Um, it was truly incredible. Um, there were other sessions that were not as inspired, but he always, even in the small sort of suggestions he would give about songs that we were working on, you could really hear like him and like his music behind it, if that makes sense. Like there was one, I'll share one specific note. Um, the T Pain vocals on Finish Line that are like, the all my days I pray and pray that I see the finish line. When we were working on that, Ye was like, "Oh, I'll put those vocals first, like right at the top of the song," you know. And I was like, instantly, like, boom, like everything, everywhere, all at once moment of just like into the into the Kanye West ether of just hearing the music that way, interpreted that way, and like, oh yeah, that is what a Kanye West song would sound like, like now that didn't end up happening exactly, but it was the suggestion that was just like so clear, so in tune. And yeah, I felt very grateful to be in those sessions. Uh he's always been such a big Chicago legend, and his music in the hip hop sort of sphere of things has always been very inspiring, musically, like uh just incorporating a lot of different styles and incorporating jazz and gospel in his music, and that was always very inspiring for me. So getting to work with him, getting to hear his ideas, getting to play trumpet in front of him, yeah, they were very memorable experiences, and there were some other weird moments too. But in general, I would say overwhelmingly positive. Um, yeah,
What was it like playing trumpet in front of him?
nerve wracking. Yeah, very, very much so. There's other people that I've played in front of where, for whatever reason, it hasn't felt that way. Like other big celebs. Like we played this show in New York And Jay-Z, Beyonce, and Usher were all sitting like on like a like what is it? One of the balconies, and there was like the lights were in such a way that we could just see them the entire show. It was like damn near shining on them. And that was nerve wracking too. But because it was a whole show, I think it took a lot of the pressure off. But sitting in the studio and playing trumpet, 3 feet away from the guy was definitely nerve wracking. And just wanting to do a good job, wanting to make something cool, um, wanted to contribute something to the room. Uh, yeah, it was okay. I I think it did okay. It ended up making it, but I think Chance was really like a champion of that part making it because he really always associated, the horns with like establishing part of his sound, I feel like. So if he's gonna be on a Kanye West song, he wants like the full Chance the Rapper experience. So I think he was really championing that part, making it across the table. And yeah, I remember watching that live stream of him at the United Center or whatever, and hearing those horns for the first time. Or maybe it wasn't the United Center. Where was it? Madison Square Garden. Anyways, wherever it was where he debuted that project, and hearing those horns for the first time, and I just lost my mind. It was such a crazy, surreal experience. So yeah, I have a lot of fond memories of times with him. Some weird ones too, but it's all love. That's honestly how I feel. It's all love.
Is it hard to see now, though?
Yes. And that's what makes me having positive experiences with him, kind of hard to talk about now because it's like I don't know how he was really feeling about me. If he was harboring some sort of hate towards me or whatever. I don't know. But I had positive experiences with him. I mean, like I said, there were some weird moments too, but wasn't anything like, what we're seeing these days. So, yeah, that does make it hard to talk about because I don't want to like, I don't know, champion the guy and he's saying all this crazy stuff about Jewish people specifically, but just yeah, yeah, really hateful stuff. So I definitely don't support that. But I had positive experiences with him. I gotta be honest. Like he was nice to me. uh yeah, he took my ideas seriously and looked me in the eye when we talked to each other. And I don't know, we had a good studio rapport. And then yeah, we shared some awkward moments too, but that's just life. That's just being in the studio and being an artist, working with people. There's going to be great moments and there's going to be some awkward moments too. Just understanding each other's processes and whatever. And obviously the dynamic of like you're a superstar, you know, producer, artist extraordinaire, and I'm Chance's homie. You know what I mean? I'm I'm Chance's bro who's here. So, but yeah, I don't uh I don't really feel like hate or or anything towards him. I I wish him the best and hope he can stop some of this hate stuff he's talking about. But I guess I wish the best for him. I wish everybody health and love. I don't have any ill will.
I hear what you're saying. I think where we feel similarly, and obviously we have very different lives because you've actually worked with him. As someone who grew up on his music and loves his music, it's just very difficult because I was at those early concerts.
Mm,
I went. Like I bumped his stuff for as long as I can remember. And when you put someone on that internal pedestal for them to be viewed as heroic in your eyes, and then years later to go down this path of being very hateful and targeting people who shouldn't be targeted. Like my politics are pretty simple. Like I'm of the belief that the biggest minority problem in this country is the top 1%. I don't think it's someone who's black, brown, Muslim, Christian, etc. And to see him go after so many marginalized communities, including his own, is just hard, and it just hurts, and it
It's very,
sucks.
and I mean, I guess it should be, clear that I am Jewish. My entire family is Jewish on both sides of my family, and it is very, very hurtful, and it does make me feel a type of way about, you know, being so excited about having music with him that he's worked on, or being in sessions with him, or whatever, having all these like gaga-eyed moments, Google-eyed moments of like my hero Kanye West making this music, and I'm a part of it, and blah blah blah. But I guess as you get older, it's harder to separate the person from the artist, and it extends beyond just musicians too. I mean, look, it's been tough to lose R. Kelly in my discography, or in my my CD changer or whatever. Um, but yeah, it's harder to sort of look past that. And an analogy I often return to is, when I was a kid, I used to love watching basketball with my dad, and there would be certain basketball players that I would be such a big fan of, and my mom would be like, how can you watch that guy? Like, he just got arrested for like beating his wife or something, you know? And I just remembered feeling like so torn about that, and like, wait a second, but he's just a basketball player. All this guy does all day, every second of of existence is like play basketball, right? But then you realize that these are all just people, and some of them aren't the nicest of people, and have made some really harmful decisions. And it's hard to support them. It's hard to engage that way, as you get older, and sort of can't separate the truth anymore, or can't look past the truth as easily. Um, yeah, so it's hurtful, and a big loss, I think, for the music community. Um, for somebody to be, yeah, spewing so much hate, when so much of his music is about love. So, anyways, um, yeah, wish him healing, wish him love and healing.
Yeah. You've obviously talked about Chance the Rapper a lot. This is the time where we can divulge and go all in. He said of you, quote, Nico has always known who he is and what he wants to do. His ability to manipulate his instrument and use it as whatever he wants it to be at the time gives everyone around him the strength to show who they are musically and creatively. When you hear that, what's your internal reaction?
Wow. Yeah, I feel blessed. Um, yeah, it's really heavy. Um, Chance is has always been somebody who's really respected music, musician's craft, the craft of being a musician, um, the craft of being an artist, the craft of being a writer, uh, a producer. I think he's always just been very, um, attuned to the room and like each individual person's gifts and like how they contribute the best, um because he started the social experiment and put us all in this position, to work with each other and yeah, I'd say I've always been very inspired by Chance in the studio, and that that inspiration has always helped to trump my own insecurities about playing the trumpet or whatever, playing keys or drums or whatever I'm contributing, because I never went to music school. Um, I didn't go to college at all. So my musical studies were done in high school. And I think that always made me sort of question a little what could have been. Because I did go through the whole audition process and I accepted at Manhattan School of Music. I was really excited to study with Scott Wenholt and Cecil Bridgewater, and there was somebody else super cold on the trumpet faculty at the time that I wanted to study with. But I was playing with Kizzy's days, I was touring, I was doing my thing, so I deferred and then deferred again, and then just never went. But yeah, I think Chance has always championed us as musicians, in his band. I mean, and yeah, it's it's powerful to hear those words because yeah, we haven't played that many shows since the pandemic. So um yeah, it's just sort of like I wonder when that quote was from. but I do appreciate it whenever it was from.
October 24th, 2017.
Oh yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah. But no, I think he's somebody that appreciates musicians in the room a lot, appreciates what we do, how hard we have to study to do our thing. And I've always been equally inspired by everyone in the social experiment, and their gifts and sort of how they're able to show up and bring themselves to the Chance the Rapper, cause or whatever. And yeah, I think that's what makes the social experiment, a group that can continue functioning after so many years, is being inspired by each other and feeling like we're all working hard at our craft, like we're all pushing and want better from ourselves and from each other. And I think they see that very clearly in me. That's something I wear on my sleeve, very obviously. Because there's just not enough hours in the day to do everything I want to do. I mean, I don't call myself a piano player. I don't call myself a drummer. Because I know piano players and I know drummers and I know how hard they work at that, to really embody that and to be a professional at that is, a different sort of level of consistency, a different sort of level of focus that I know because that's what I put into the trumpet. That's what it takes to play the trumpet on a professional level. It's that consistency and I think playing a very physically demanding instrument like that, there's no hiding. Like there's sometimes in the studio or whenever early, you know, uh, before sound check that I gotta practice, and the guys will see that, because that's just the reality of what I gotta do. Otherwise, I'm gonna sound terrible. Like it's that simple. Um, so I think Chance has always respected that, dedication and commitment to my craft, and yeah, I really appreciate again for you sharing that with me. Um, yeah, it's always very affirming, even if that's from 2017. It's still affirming, um, because yeah, there's always room to grow and be better, and I'll never be the trumpet player I want to be. I'll never be the producer I want to be. I'll never be the blah 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 the piano player. It's just um, getting sort of growing into the understanding of it's about the journey. It's about the process. It's about enjoying how you sound when you sound the way you sound, and not getting comfortable with it, but also not letting it completely immobilize you, um, or paralyze you on stage. So yeah, I feel really grateful, to be surrounded by musicians, especially in the Juju Exchange, where our music is just incredibly demanding, that push each other and want more from each other. And neither of the guys in the Juju are scared to tell me when I'm not practicing enough. Like, as much as that quote, makes me feel good, it really just motivates me to practice more because I got some shows coming up. I've been sitting at the computer producing a ton lately, but yeah, I gotta get right with the trumpet every day. So yeah, it's fuel. It's motivating.
Do you know a producer who's from Chicago named Nez by chance?
Yeah, from Nez and Rio.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so Nez is a friend of mine who I met through our mutual, whose name is Britton Harden. Shout out Britton, love him. And when I was making a few calls to get ready for interviewing Vic Mensa, he said something that will always stick with me, which is we just knew. Like with Vic, you knew, like he just had it. He
Mm.
just did. At an early age, he would go to the studio, we would be in there, and you could just tell. Did you get that same feeling with Chance?
Oh, 100%. Um, we would always be like in groups freestyling, and ciphers would just break out randomly constantly in our friend group. And I mean, it was either Vic or Chance that won. Or maybe Joey sometimes got in there, I would say, and had the hottest verse. But for the majority of the time, I think it was pretty well understood that Vic and Chance were like doing their thing. Um, yeah, I mean, it was always very obvious. I remember, I remember specific freestyle lines from when that Vic spit when we were literally like 12 years old. We were walking. I can picture it perfectly. We were walking to my house, and he said some line about "got you eating your words like alphabet soup," and we both went, "Oh!" you know, like freaked out. Thought it was the hottest thing that ever said. I mean, he always had the words. Like in grade school, that guy got straight A's. Every single paper he turned in, 100%. Like he just was incredible with the writing. And some of the earliest studio sessions that I remember going to with him, the engineers would be frustrated sometimes because he would do a lot of takes, or he would want to punch a couple times, or he would want to redo a section and then redo it and get it better and better and better. And I just vividly remember telling them, like, but listen to the product, like listen to what he's doing, like who cares how many takes it takes, like listen to what we're leaving with. um because it was always just fire and just undeniable. I don't know if you asked him about this song, but whenever you talk to him again, ask him about the song Shoes. He like had this legendary song called Shoes, where he told this story of like a pair of sneakers walking through the city. And it was so amazing, like so cold. I still remember it. This must have been, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago now. Like one of the first things he ever recorded. Um, and it was one of those situations where the engineer was like, oh, another one, but man, when we left the studio and listened to that song, it was just a crazy, like, what did you just do? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think with Vic and with Chance, it was always just undeniable. It was always just a cutting above the rest. And yeah, just really unique. When I think about Chance specifically, I think of unique bars. When I think of Vic specifically, I think of like the most athletic, complex patterns and crazy wordplay and words running into each other. Yeah, when I think of those early freestyles from Chance, they would be more like quirkier, just unique patterns, totally different from Vic. And both would always stand out from the crowd in my mind. Like I said, there was other people with fire moments. Joey would come in and spit some hot stuff, or Kane or whoever would have hot moments for sure. But I think consistency wise, it was always one of those two that walked away from the cipher with like the hottest verses.
Mm-hmm. In 2014, I went to my first Coachella, and Chance was supposed to be, I believe, on Sunday, but then he got sick. And as someone who like reps Chicago so hard, I was crestfallen. Then he performed Lollapalooza that same summer, and I was there. And The Social Experiment was performing with Chance, and that was like that was like the biggest, like most oh fuck, like Chicago was here moment that I hadn't felt for a while, because we had it with Kanye, and then Kanye went through like the ebbs and flows of the industry and stuff. And to see how many, I like watched it back so many times to see how many people were there at his set, and the energy of the crowd during that show in Chicago as a Chicago artist must have been incredible for Chance. What was it like for you?
Yeah, I mean, surreal. I mean, we had played Lala before, as kids these days. So it was just already a family affair. It was a festival that we all, had jumped the fence to go to, and then had also, been paid to play. And but not on that level, not on that stage with, that Chance was playing, as far as the number of people. And um yeah, honestly, Chicago shows are always, the best for us, because it just feels the most like we understand each other. We're pulling from the same references and musical context. And yeah, and just I think it was just a very affirming moment for us in our careers. And then, so that wasn't the year that we headlined though, right? That was a different year.
No, I'm pretty sure that was the headliner, Nico.
Because
I'm gonna pull it up right now, but I'm pretty
Chance
sure.
played a couple of years. Like, we played with Kids These Days, we played it with Vic, we played it with Chance, and then we headlined it with Chance. So the headliner, maybe that was what you're talking about. That was insane, because that was like people across the street, across Randolph or whatever, watching the set, like hanging on the gates and stuff. That was a crazy show, and that was like broadcast for like millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the
Correct.
headline, crazy. They also like gave us these like food passes to go to like fancy steakhouses and stuff. And I remember a friend of mine that you mentioned actually already, Eric. We went and grabbed like a ton of food from this one from this one. I'm pretty sure it was like RPM or something like that. Some fancy steakhouse, and they like wrote about it in some article. They like wrote down our whole order. I was like, "Is this legal? Like, why did you? And why do you care?" But anyways, they did write down that we got like a bunch of cheesecakes or something. And yeah, that was a fun time, man. That definitely made me feel like wow, Chicago is showing up for us. You know, we're headlining as hometown hero kind of moment for Chance. And yeah, dude, I'm just grateful to be a part of those moments. Like I just feel so blessed that I get to be a part of them and get to play and just contribute, you know, to the music, to the vibe, to just yeah, to just enjoying our time on stage together. Um, yeah, every show has its ups and downs for sure, but I'll definitely never forget that one in terms of just a sea of people. Like that was crazy.
Definitely.
Yeah,
That was the headliner year where Outkast was up there, Kings of Leon were up there, Eminem was up there, Nas was up there.
crazy.
Yeah, but that is a crazy, crazy lineup to look back on. There was another big moment in your career. I know I mentioned previously that Chance volunteered for Obama, but then you went and played at the Obama White House, correct?
Hmm.
What was that experience like for you?
It was amazing. Yeah, we got to play Sunday Candy, which was crazy. It was outside and it was freezing cold, so I probably sounded like trash, but yeah, I was playing my a song I made, you know, with my friends, maybe 7 or 8 feet away from, you know, the Obamas, and they're like singing along. You know, they're I remember, like Michelle like singing along to Sunday Candy,
Michelle
and
Obama sang your song.
isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? Yeah, that was sick. Um, yeah, they're like mouthing along the words, and we got to meet James Taylor side stage. That was pretty crazy. Um, yeah, I guess those moments stick out. There was also like snipers everywhere. It was like, you know, military, you know, brigades and all that, whatever. So it was kind of a funny experience in that way too. And I mean, anytime that the president is moving, everything has to be like locked down. So
Right.
there were certain moments we couldn't go anywhere, and yeah, it was a crazy experience. But um, yeah, again, just felt very honored to be there, and even more so that we're playing Sunday Candy, and like, wow, that was such an honor, and yeah, I'll never forget that.
Yeah, for sure. Lastly, your solo project is titled Tell the Ghosts Welcome Home. Book Club Chicago wrote, Segal was going through a tough time in his life. He reckoned with questions about life and death, community and legacy, but he also went on a vacation with friends where he felt carefree and was bit by the bug of inspiration. I have a few questions. What was the tough time that you were going through in your life, and how did music help?
Well, there was actually a couple things going on. Uh, went through a breakup and was kind of trying to figure out my musical path post pandemic with touring slowing way down, and just trying to figure out what to do um, in terms of just yeah making money in this industry, and and also just really reckoning with um, my musical sort of upbringing and direction, and uh, I guess my musical identity. You know, one of the most common things people always talk to me about in my music is like, "Oh, it's so genre bending. It's so genreless." Um, so I think I've always taken a lot of pride in that, and simultaneously, it raises a lot of questions about like, so what is my music then? You know, if it's this genre bendy thing. Um, but like Roy Hargrove said, you know, if you think you've said something original, you haven't done your homework. And I really do believe that. I think we're all products of, combinations of sounds that we've processed, and I feel really grateful that I grew up with such an eclectic musical palette, that I grew up with a lot of salsa and Latin jazz playing in the house. I grew up with a lot of Joni Mitchell and folk music playing in the house. And then I also, um, yeah, really loved and was into a lot of hip hop growing up, or a lot of, whatever was playing on the radio, the Usher and Nellies and Ludacris's of the time. And yeah, and I think I just have always felt very grateful for all of those influences. And it's not that I'm consciously trying to put all of those things on one musical plate and serve it to you, but I think, sort of going back to the Chief Keef thing, is we're all sort of products of our environment, musically, um, and of our musical upbringing. And so yeah, I feel very lucky that it's gone a lot of different places, and I still remain inspired by a lot of different sounds. And I think Tell the Ghost Welcome Home was me sort of processing and inviting back the spirit of creativity um and inspiration, and sort of the guidance of my ancestors, the spiritual musical realm, um looking out for me, and pointing me in the right directions when I wasn't sure which way to go. And uh I was spending a lot of time in my house, and was yeah was also going on a lot of walks, but specifically like making a lot of music in my house, because I have a piano here and I have a whole studio set up. And so I think a lot of it was also like, you know, I have this situation here, and I'm trying to figure out, like, musically what I'm all about or something, and just want to feel comfortable, like, in my own musical skin, in my own musical home. And uh yeah, sort of want to look at this ghost character as someone or something inspiring me and guiding me and helping me, not something to be so fearful of like, when is the inspiration going to strike me, or when am I going to figure it all out? Aha, I'm a insert whatever artist. Because yeah, I have a lot of musical itches. The Juju Exchange is sort of my jazz adjacent musical itch, and then working with Chance, and is a lot of the hip hop side of things, and then intellectual is a little bit more of the singer songwritery thing. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think Tell the Ghost Welcome Home was sort of my first, like, if I'm really driving the ship, without these other main components, like, Julian and Zai in the Juju Exchange, or Chance in, his music. If I'm really driving the ship, what does that musical identity actually sound like? And maybe I'll get some more clarity, and I'll have a better answer from people. um, and yeah, I think I found a lot of joy in that exploration, in just trying to process it for myself, and not being so afraid of it, and turning that fear into, fuel, into lessons, um into blessings, that I could learn from. So yeah, that's what that project represents.
I appreciate I appreciate your in-depth answer. I really, really do. I want to acknowledge that. Lastly, I think one of the coolest, as someone who really loves music and loves how different each performance is, I truly do believe that what Bob Boylan has created for the space is rather awesome. So, in performing at NPR Tiny Desk, how tiny is the desk? And secondly, Was that one of your, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how would you describe that way of performing?
Oh, I love that. I love that experience. Yeah, it was super fun. My least favorite part of it was there was like this glass um tarantula like sitting right next to me, and I'm extremely terrified of spiders. And I just had to thug it out. Like I really had no choice. I couldn't move. I just had to like kind of look straight or look somewhere else. Because it was like right next to me the whole performance. That's what I remember the most from Tiny Desk. And that Chance was like doing some poetry stuff. We were playing some different music. We were playing like a Stevie Wonder song. It was an interesting performance for sure. And I think Chance just wanted to do something different. You know, we were all fans of Tiny Desk. I mean, especially like the first couple that really got people going, like the T Pain one or Tank and the Bangas. Like we were familiar with that stuff already. So um, yeah, Chance had a vision for it, and I was just excited to be there. So, same thing with all these performances. I'm truly just like, man, this is so far and above what I ever dreamed of as a broke jazz trumpet player. Um, so yeah, I was just grateful to be there, and yeah, I'm trying to go back to Tiny Desk. What's up, Tiny Desk? Like, trying to pull up again.
If you were to put together a Tiny Desk ensemble, who would you have on drums, guitar, saxophone,
Mm,
one other trumpet player to accompany you,
mm.
and 2 lyricists?
Okay, drums, I'd have Novazai. Guitar, I'd have Brian Sanborn.
Oh, bass as well, sorry. Electric and bass.
Bass, I'll probably have Kurt, Stoneface Shelby. Um, Saxophone, I have Irvin Pierce all day. Another trumpet, maybe, but really preferred would be a trombone player named JP Floyd. Um, you said 2 vocalists.
Yep.
Ooh, this is tough. Dang, this is really tough.
I mean, you could go 3.
I guess Jamila, Aaron Allen Kane, and Jabari Rayford. But man, there's so many other ones I could put in there. But that's what I'm saying for this moment. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, Nico, I've taken up over 2 hours of your time, so I deeply appreciate it. I really, really do. I appreciate your candor. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your wisdom. And I appreciate, even if you don't like being it, philosophical.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate you.
Of course. And I wish you, seriously, the best of luck going forward. And we will absolutely be listening. You are awesome at what you do, man.
Thank you so much. And there are so many announcements and big things coming up. I don't know when this is going to air, but just excited. I'm excited for the next 6 months. So yeah, just be on the lookout.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you to Nico for the time. It is truly an honor to hear from one of the best trumpet players that this city has ever produced. I appreciate all of you watching. I appreciate all of y'all tuning in. Thank you so much. Have a great day.